Thank you and welcome to the show this morning. The topic this morning is the significance of African American history, and we have with us to talk about the importance of African American history in this year 2004, Dr. LBaldwin. Dr. Baldwin is in the Department of Religious Studies at Vanderbilt University. And of course, Dr. Baldwin, let me welcome you to the show this morning.
Thank you very much. Glad to be here.
And of course, Dr. Baldwin, we've had you on a number of occasions, and you've given us so many excellent shows. As a matter of fact, I'm reminded of a show that we did quite a while ago with the wife of James Earl Ray. It was called The Assassination of James Earl Ray, and I still think that was one of the better shows. It was a highlight show. But Dr. Baldwin, what we'd like to do today is to take advantage of your extensive knowledge, not only in reference to Dr. Martin Luther King, but in reference to our African American history in general, and to talk about how significant it is to this part of American history is to the rest of American history. But before we get into that, Dr. Baldwin, let us have you to give us some information about your background, your education, and some of the things that were important in terms of eventually leading you to Vanderbilt University in the Department of Religious Studies.
Okay, I grew up in the so-called Black Belt of Alabama, a little town called Camden, Alabama, located in Wilcox County. I was born there in the late 40s. I was educated in the segregated school system there. I finished high school in 1967 and matriculated at Talladega College in Alabama, and I was there from 67 to 71. I had an opportunity to participate in some of the student demonstrations at that time, and I saw a lot of what was going on during the movement, and was inspired to pursue a life of scholarship in the academy. So when I finished at Talladega, I went to Crozet Theological Seminary, and from there I went to Northwestern University, where I received a PhD in 1980. But my whole educational quest, if I might call it that, was inspired by what I saw during the Civil Rights Movement in the 50s and the 60s. And I developed a particular interest in African American studies. In college, I majored in history, and much of my focus was on African American history. I did an MA in Black Church Studies at Crozet Seminary, and when I left there to do a PhD at Northwestern, I focused on the history of Christianity, but with a particular emphasis on the Black church.
And so you've had extensive knowledge in terms of not only American history, but specific in reference to African American history, religious history. Dr. Baldwin, what I'd like to do is to have you to give us some information, because this is the beginning of African American History Month. At one time it was called Negro History, and et cetera, et cetera. Why don't you give us some information as an historian in reference to the very idea of African American History Month, or Negro American History Month, or whatever it was called.
That's right. As you well know, this particular celebration developed with Carter G. Woodson, who's known as the father of Black history, somewhere around 1915. At the very beginning, it was called Negro History Week, and later, of course, African American History Month. But Woodson had this vision that if we as a people are to understand our present existential situation, then we must have a knowledge of the past. He felt in 1915 that African American history and culture had largely been ignored, not only in the public square but by scholars, that even African Americans had not given serious attention to it, with few exceptions. So Woodson wanted to go on record as developing Negro History Week, later Negro History Month, as a way of keeping us informed about who we are and what we should be about in terms of our own struggle for liberation. Woodson had the idea that one cannot be liberated without knowledge, and he understood knowledge as power. So this is why he developed that celebration, and I think it's important that we continue to celebrate African American history, because the struggle has not ended. We've gone through episodes in the struggle. We've gone through various trends in the struggle. But we must understand that the struggle for liberation is in large measure a struggle for the liberation of the mind.
Very good.
And it is also an intellectual struggle. And I think Woodson understood that.
You know, Dr. Baldwin, we're making preparations for our first commercial break, but since we're talking about the significance of African American history, let's have you, when we come back, to start at your activities involved in the civil rights movement,
Okay.
and to sort of give us some idea now in 2004
Yeah.
as to what it really meant to march and sit in and et cetera. Of course, we'll be back with our audience following this very short commercial break. Our guest